going way back for thousands of years, specific types of beings. And that's really what people are interested in. It's the entities, the intelligent beings that are extant within this strange alternate alien reality. And there are certainly commonalities, but even between, going back. I mean, it's fascinating. I was reading some accounts when I'm writing my latest book about people who have these experiences that seem to, in many ways, kind of recapitulate shamanistic experiences that have been recorded hundreds of years ago. So, kind of typical shamanistic initiation scenarios where these very small beings will fill the chest of the shaman initiate. These beings are called hekura, which are these very tiny little beings, very, very lively. They're, if you start, okay, so let me describe these hekura. So they operate in innumerable numbers, great multitudes. They are extremely lively. They're bright and colorful. They dance, they sing, right? Now, you compare that, which goes back hundreds of years, is part of the cosmology of these indigenous cultures. And you compare that to a modern trip report where people talk about, or Terence McKenna talks about, oh, these machine elves, they come in great numbers and they're dancing and they're singing, and it's like, wait, are they describing, is Terence McKenna, all these people describing the same type of being? Perhaps it's being modeled slightly differently because the brain always has to model it, of course. So we can't guarantee that just because you're experiencing kind of the same being, your brain is going to be kind of modeling it in the same way, so to speak. But certainly it's very curious why somebody would experience often the same. Terence McKenna used to say, they jump into my chest. And that's exactly what the Hekura do during these shamanistic initiations with ayahuasca and these psychedelic snuffs such as yopo and apina. So there are certainly commonalities that are very striking, and it looks like these kind of experiences, colored by culture, certainly they're influenced by culture, but the overall fingerprint of these experiences seems to be the same. The difference, I think, is with pure DMT, you're reaching the brain levels of DMT reach a much higher level than they do with these traditional preparations. So it's like we're able to go even further than you can achieve with something like ayahuasca or these psychedelic visionary plant-based snuffs. Yeah. Go
So
on.
the key, okay, I could literally talk to you for
Lot there.
days about this. So we're going to have to have you on again to talk about this because I have so many questions. So, I mean, one of the big keys is what's the ontological status of these entities or of these realms? And again, I completely am aware that if somebody is listening to this, they're going to think they're going to be like, what are you talking about? Of course, it's all in your head. But I think even that framing is, like you said, is the wrong way to look at it. So I want to go back to this cultural thing, but instead of the culture, it would be really interesting to me to find a true believing Christian, a true believing Muslim, like really someone who's just like fervent in their beliefs, and see if there are any commonalities or among them within one particular faith tradition or one. I would be a fascinating experience to like put a bunch of climate activists who think we're all going to die in 6 months, or to put in and to see if there are any commonalities in those experiences. I don't think there's been any. I did a cursory look, I couldn't find anything like that or study.
So not specifically with people from political or religious persuasions, but there's certainly been a lot of studies that have farmed or harvested very, very large numbers of trip reports and analyzed them. So we're talking thousands. Now, unfortunately, to do this in a kind of controlled setting, giving DMT to thousands of people is not really practical at the moment. But what you can do is harvest the reports that are posted online. And now they're not 100% reliable because people can just make it up. But I think it's still useful data. When you look at 2,000-3,000 trip reports, you can start to see that there are these beings appear in certain categories, certain types of experience appear again and again. One of the most fascinating ones is kind of it's often described as an alien abduction or alien experimentation type experience, where you are in some kind of hyper technological, super advanced environment with
Yeah,
several beings around you who are performing, whether it's surgery or
that was my
measurements
second
and
time.
probing. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was my second time. I can't explain it. The best I could come to explain it is like a tesseract building factory that was, um, but anyway, so you have these kind of commonalities of the experiences now. Um, okay, so again, there's so much to plumb here. So for those who don't know, it's kind of like an instant in and an instant out, and it lasts. So there's two types. So I'm not talking about ayahuasca. There's for the purpose of this conversation at the moment, it's just DMT, and then I'm not talking about 5-MeO DMT that from
Mhm.
the toad. Talking about just DMT. So it's a quick in, an almost instantaneous in, and it's almost instantaneous out, and it lasts for 5 minutes approximately. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So and just to be absolutely clear, I am not advocating people do this. This is a Schedule One drug in the United States. Not advocating anyone do this. Okay. So I think it's at Imperial College in London. People are researchers are doing a test of extended state DMT with the drip. Right? Can you
Yes.
tell us about that?
Yeah. So kind of the great one of the merciful characteristics of DMT, as you said, is that it is so brief, and for most people, that is more than enough. 5 minutes in that place is more than enough. But if you really want, yeah, but if you really want to, I take quite seriously the possibility. I've studied DMT for over 20 years now, and I'm still
Wow.
as confounded. I still find it as difficult to explain as I did way back then, unless we invoke some sort of external information source. So
That
maybe
would be the
before we
thing.
get to
Right.
the DMTX, it's worth thinking about the ontological status a little bit. I don't think I really got to that.
Please. Please,
Yeah. So
please. I'm fascinated by that.
so so when people say, are these beings real, or is it all in your head? As I said, that's not really the question to ask. So when we think about when something's real, what we really mean, when you look out and I look at this cup, for example, it's real because we know that it's being mapped to the model in my head of this cup is being mapped to sensory information. So there's some information input that is informing the construction of this model. If I
Correct.
dream of a cup or whatever, then it's disconnecting from the environment. My brain is constructing that model in the absence of sensory inputs, right? So the question then is the DMT world, which must be constructed by the brain, it has to be represented by the brain, in the brain somewhere, right? In the cortex, in this brain's world building machinery. So the question really is not, is it in your head or not? Because it's always in your head, but is it being modulated by some external source of information? That would make it ontologically real, if you like, if it's being informed by information from elsewhere. Are you following me?
I am following you. I'm tracking 100%. I'm thinking of when people tell me they talk to angels or Jesus when I was in the atheist movement. And my response to them was, well, tell them to tell you the cure for bladder cancer or the solution to Goldbach's conjecture. Then we'll
Right.
know that there's a there there, that there's something objective. And so we don't have that with DMT.
Right.
But I think that the same principle is operative.
Yes, I think so. And those sort of experiments where, and people have proposed these kind of experiments where you give the beings, complex mathematical problems to solve or stuff like that. But even if you just focus on the experience itself and the properties, the characteristics, the qualities of the experience, it's very difficult to explain how the brain can construct that. The dynamics, the complexity,
Yeah.
the lack of relationship between, as I said, the world that your brain evolved to construct suggests that there must be some kind of external source of information.
Thank you for watching. Everything we do is under the umbrella of the National Progress Alliance, nationalprogressalliance.org. It's a nonprofit, independent 501c3. Your generous donations keep us going and keep fueling content like this. So please help us out. Make a donation. We very much appreciate it. Thank you.